Let's do it, he said. Hey, it's John McGlynn, Dynasty Evaluation on Fantasy and Frames. We are talking about Cam Ward, quarterback, Miami, with my boy, Hoove. Get ready for a show today. So, Hoove, it's been like, I don't know, a year since you've been on here before. It seems like off-season kind of talk is what we like to do. JT Brew is not feeling very well today. So all you JT fans, I'm sure most of you guys come here to say JT anyway, but he's not here today. So it's me and Hoove. You're going to have to, put up with us as we talk about Cam Ward, which is an exciting person to talk about right now because in this draft, there's not too many good quarterbacks, but we will figure it out. So, Hoove, what's going on, man? Tell the people all about yourself, what you do, all that, so where they can find you, what do you got going on in the world of, in those tough worlds of Dynasty Fantasy Football.
All right. Well, you can find me right now at Club Fantasy FFL. I just published my new series, Quarterback Scramble, breaking down all the quarterback rooms and predicting those rooms throughout all 32 teams in each division. So that was really fun. We're moving on to free agency and some trade talk, but we got the combine next week. So hopefully I'll see you and JT down there and we can catch up a little bit. But yeah, that's it. I'm doing some writing. We're getting ready for Trade Block Season 2. So in a few weeks, just getting the gears going.
I wish I could write. You know what? I had the best English teachers and the best grammar teachers and star lists and everything else going on. I probably have the know-it-all for writing. I just don't have the patience for it, man. I like to just talk online and just, and do this stuff on a podcast and get it over with. I don't want to spend 4 hours researching and put it on a paper and edit it and, add all the pictures and all that shit to it, man. This is what I like to do. I don't think I'm ever going to change from being – I think some people are writers. They hate podcasting. Some people like podcasting and they hate writing. And some people just, they do like I see Nick Script do a lot of his favorite thing now is to do the TikToks and share them on all the social media stuff like that. He's good with it. The graphics, he puts his face in front and blah, blah, all that stuff. I don't have that kind of skill either. I don't have a lot of skills. I'm like a one-tool player. I'd be like a guy who just sits back and shoot threes, and that's all I do. I don't play defense or nothing, that kind of stuff. So it is what it is.
No, it's good to have multiple in your portfolio. I like to do my podcast and I like to do my writing, but writing it honestly just kind of became a thing because the company I was working for at the time, they needed writers, and I just kind of fell in love with doing it just because you can word things in a way that maybe you wouldn't word it on podcasts, and kind of it's a different content style. So the people that don't want to sit down for 60 minutes and they just want to browse through and see what you're thinking, that's cool too. So it's different. I'll say that.
It's different. I am not that guy. I'm different. You're built different, not me. But.
I'm built different. That's right.
So you were super excited to talk about a guy named Cam Ward today, which, like I said before, there's not too many good quarterbacks in this draft class. People. Quote end quote, I guess there's not too many quarterbacks in this class. So, how do I get excited about Cam Ward? Tell me about Cam Ward. Just what gets you excited about Cam Ward? First of all, that you were so excited to this is my guy. I want him first. Tell me a little bit about him.
Well, before we get into that, I wanted to start the conversation. I was hoping JT was here because I checked out the Shedeur Sanders episode. I was kind of curious to see what you guys were thinking about him because it's the big Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward comp, who should be QB1 right now. And I was kind of curious to see where you guys had him graded and had these quarterbacks graded. And the first thing I wanted to get off my chest this season is like you alluded to earlier, is that there's this ongoing notion that this quarterback class isn't that great. And I'm not going to come here and I'm not going to say that it's the best quarterback class in the world, but I think that people are really underestimating this quarterback class in the sense that we don't know for a fact that Arch Manning is going to come out next season after a few starts, this season and a full year under his belt, or even Nico from Tennessee. We don't know that these elite quarterbacks that were better than Cam Ward or better than Shedeur Sanders that we're waiting for, they could be pushing that off till 2027 with NIL. So keep that in mind because the guys like Garrett Nussmeier or Drew Aller, some people are big on them. And I prefer Cam Ward to those guys at this point. Maybe they can get to that point as a better prospect, but comparing, Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders to if it is Garrett Nussmeier and Drew Aller next season, give me 2025, this quarterback class. So I'm actually a lot bigger on these two, on Cam Ward and Shedeur, than maybe most people. And looking at it from that perspective, it was easier to kind of talk myself into Cam Ward because there's so many things to like about his tape. I mean, you can critique and you can look apart, and we'll do that throughout the episode today. But man, is this guy just a firecracker? Like, you're just like, you watch him, and I know that there's some people out there that they come here for fantasy advice. But if you're not a film person, and that's fine, but just go watch some Cam Ward highlights, and I promise you, it's a spectacle. Like, it is awesome. So I'm glad that the person in the comment section brought up JJ McCarthy, because like I was saying too about people being down on this quarterback class, is that JJ McCarthy would 100% be the 101 in this draft class. And if people are saying, well, these guys aren't as good as Michael Penix or JJ McCarthy or whatever, I don't think that they have to be in that Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels class or tier to be the 101, 102 in this draft class. So that's where my head's at initially. We can talk about it more, but what are your thoughts?
If I had Thor Nystrom on the show and I said, what is going on? He loves JJ. I've never seen a person love anybody like he loves JJ McCarthy.
We were both on that.
I mean,
Thor
yeah,
and
I traded for JJ McCarthy for a 110 pick, a 109 pick, a 112 pick. I have him in like 5 leagues. I got him at the end of the first round last year. Now this year, all the drafts I've seen so far, Cam Ward's going anywhere from like 103 to like 107 to like, I've seen him fall all the way to like 111 in a super flex drafts. And that's kind of wild because, I mean, everybody needs a quarterback in a super flex. Quarterbacks change. It is liquid, the quarterback situation in the NFL. It changes every year. There's a lot of teams right now that A, don't have a good starting quarterback, or B, don't plan on having their quarterback around very long, or C, don't have a very good backup quarterback for the starter in case something happens. So I don't see why taking a chance with someone like Cam Ward, who's probably who in my eyes, he's the best quarterback in this draft class. I'm not going to go tat for tat or who I relate him to, or we haven't seen a lot of stuff yet, or where he got drafted, or all his intangibles. We have seen a lot of film of him at Miami, and his the rest of his college stats at Washington State, but we haven't seen the whole situation with what he can do in a pro offense yet. So as of right now, I'm drafting him as if he's going to sit a year. Do you feel that same way?
I think that both guys should sit. And that's where I'm drafting them. If we're drafting a super flex, and I want to get to that point, but I also want to address Will in the comment section on this exact take. But I think that they both do sit a little bit. If you check out my quarterback scramble series over on Club Fantasy, you'll be able to see who I have starting over them this year. But that's kind of where I'm at. I do kind of I would view them as a late, if I was going to be critical, I would view them as a late first round, but I understand the urgency, so I'm willing to push them up, kind of like how Bo Nix and Michael Penix, they reviewed later, but the urgency pushed them up. So that's kind of where I'm at. I think that they do sit. But to answer Will, would I trade JJ McCarthy for a first round pick? It really depends, because I'm big on JJ this year. I think that easily it's Kevin O'Connell. I mean, you have Kevin O'Connell making the plays. You saw what he did with Sam Darnold. I think that it's wheels up for JJ McCarthy in fantasy. I mean, the dip that you bought him at last year in most leagues at like 106, 107 probably, because there's still Roma Dunze and guys like that. So, yeah, I think I would trade it first for him. It just kind of depends on what the pick is, but especially if it's a late, yeah, absolutely. Like John was alluding to, quarterbacks are so valuable in Dynasty that how could you not want someone like JJ McCarthy, with TJ Hawkinson, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and probably some kind of running back that they draft this year, depending on who it is. But that's going to be a good offense. So yeah, I would take JJ McCarthy over the first round pick.
I thought I was on mute when I blew my nose. Sorry about that. I sneezed and whatever. If you guys heard me blow my nose, I really apologize for that. So
I think I was going. So,
so let me guess. Okay, for JJ McCarthy, I don't want to get too far off the rails on this show, but at the same time, Cam Ward's going at 103. Would you trade at 103 to get JJ McCarthy right now?
I would take JJ McCarthy over Shedeur, but I would take Cam Ward at 102. So I would trade the 103 for JJ. I wouldn't trade the 102.
Okay, that's good. Chris Joel Smith, woo hoove. There you go, my boy.
We're getting ready. Yep.
Hot takes ready. Week. Yeah, that's my guy right there. So Jamie M. McCord is the guy I'm going to chase if it's 0.5, half point. Milroe, I'm going to take. Milroe we all know about Milroe being a running quarterback. I don't like him at all. I mean, the problem isn't McCord and Milroe and a lot of these other guys are going to go so much later. You get a lot more value with those other quarterbacks. You don't have to spend a first round pick. You can get a Ted McMillan at 102, 103 in these areas. You can get one of the top receivers, one of the top running backs. Well, there's a lot of good running backs in this class. One of the top tight ends, and still get those guys later in the draft. So, yeah, I get it. It all depends on your scoring system. Again, these are super flex drafts. In a non-super flex draft, these guys are all even the top quarterbacks. So Cam Ward's going in the mid-second round in a lot of these, not in one quarterback, probably the third round in some of them actually. So it all depends on your scoring situation. How many points per touchdown? How many, how much you get for rushing? Do you get first downs for rushing? Do you get things like that? There's a lot of things that go into your scoring of your league. But in a one quarterback league, most of these quarterbacks aren't even going to get drafted until like the third or fourth round in a one quarterback league. So
yeah. For prospect wise out of these guys, right now, I believe I don't want to give away everything out of my quarterback scramble series by the end of this episode, but I think I had Kyle McCord heading to the Rams to back up their starting quarterback. If you want to go check it out, you'll be able to find out who that is. And then I think I had Jalen Milroe falling in the draft so that the Browns would be able to pick him up at a cheaper price.
I love trade questions. I'm never going to avoid a trade question on any of these shows. No matter what we're doing, I'll stop a show and talk about trade questions here. So Will Power just said, I just did a monster in my Dynasty IDP. I received Bowers, London, Penix for McCarthy, Tua, Evans, Kittle, Davis, McLaughlin, Hendricks. Wow, that's a lot of I'm stacked and the other team is rebuilding. So, hey, man, I'm always my motto is just like in Toy Story, reach for your guy. That's what I say all the time, okay? It's just you got to reach for your guy. Get your guy. Whatever makes your team better, that's my saying. Reach for your guy. So if this is what
your guy.
Reach for your guy. So
that's
what it takes to get you over the edge. You got to do what you got to do. So he also says quarterbacks are Hurts and Burrow. I have the 101 as well. So you're getting Austin Gentry probably.
Show off.
Yeah, good for you, Will.
Yeah, good for you, Will.
I'm in a similar situation.
What point are you trying to prove? That's awesome. Good for you.
I'm in a similar situation where I took over an orphan last year. It was absolutely stacked. And I got the 101 and the 105. So I'm probably going to get Austin Gentry and Luther Burden to go on top of an awesome team. I absolutely love it. I love when you have these high picks. I would, generally speaking, I would trade back to 101 or trade back to 105. But I love Gentry and I love Luther Burden. Luther Burden is my wide receiver one in this class. So that's just where I'm at.
Really?
Everybody's different. Yes. Yes, really. I hear all the people got the Ohio State wide receiver, and they got Ted McMillan, and that's cool, man. That's everybody. That's varieties of spice life, man. Everybody likes their guy. I love East St. Louis man, Luther Burden from Missouri. I'll take him. He's my wide receiver one. So
I like the talent, but I think that I'll just say this: I like the talent of Burden, but I think that someone could get drafted above him, and I think that that's Amika.
Amigo Buka? Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're pretty close, man. I don't think Ted's I've seen Ted. I know he's a talented guy, man, but I think he's got a lot of limitations, and he's going to be an X guy on the outside. I want fantasy points from a slot receiver. I don't want 17 yards a catch for 3 catches a game, possibly. I want guys who are going to get the ball 9 times a game for 72 yards and a touchdown in the red zone, shit like that. I'm a slot receiver guy first. I like the big guys on the outside too, but they don't last as long. They get hurt a lot more. There's a lot of shit going on. I don't really trust them. I like the guys. What if Luther Burden goes to let's just say the Buccaneers cut ways with Chris Godwin and Ibuka goes to Luther Burden goes to Tampa Bay and he's the new Chris Godwin in that offense. What happens then?
I don't hate that. That's kind of the range that I actually have Burden going, but I have Amika going a few picks earlier. Here's my theory before we move on to the Cam Ward stuff, because we gotta stay on subject, but this is us, we just gotta go off on our tangents a little bit. I threw this out. What about the Seahawks the Buccaneers trading for Max Crosby. They trade Mike Evans and the 119. Mike Evans goes to Vegas to be with Brady. You got Emeka Ibuka going to the Raiders at 119 to be with Chip Kelly. And then you have Mike Evans, you'd have Jacoby Myers, you'd have Emeka Ibuka. Maybe they trade for Geno Smith.
Do you honestly think Mike Evans is going to leave Tampa Bay? He's going to retire in that shooting that cannons off the rest of his life. He's not going nowhere.
They want to bring back Chris Godwin. So what if that's what it is? What if they just have to?
What did they do? What did they bring? They'll keep the whole band back together.
They could. So they could keep the whole band back together.
Wait, hold on. Quarterbacks are. Oh, I already did that one. Jamie, if Higgins is the next Brian Thomas Jr., are we taking him over Burden at 105? No, I'm still taking Burden. I think if Higgins is the next Brian Thomas Jr., I could still wait on Higgins. I mean, it's a dynasty draft. I could still get AJ. I could still get Burden at like 105, 106, something like that, and still get Higgins at probably the 201. So I wouldn't take him over that because of the fact that the people in my draft might not know what I know, and I can always trade up to the 110, 111 and still get Higgins. And, so no, I'm not going to waste the 105 or 104 to get Higgins, but I can get Burden there and get Higgins later. That's just my process of thinking.
No,
I said that earlier in a text, in a tweet today, that Higgins could be the next Brian Thomas, could be this year's Brian Thomas Jr. So maybe he was paying attention to my tomfoolery that I put on the internet, So, all right, let's get back to the show sheet now. We are derailed here, big time.
Yeah,
Cam Ward, 6'2", 223 pounds. Tell me all about him. Give me the intangibles, and then show me the good on paper, the good on film, the analytics, test scores, all the stuff. Give me all the good stuff you know about Cam Ward.
I mean, there's so many places you guys can go to get a full breakdown of Cam Ward. I'm not going to bore you with the full breakdown and try to sound like the smartest person because I'm not. So I'm just going to tell you a few things that are pretty good about Cam Ward, and then we can get to the most important stuff about the fantasy value and landing spots that are why people are here for fantasy football, to know where Cam Ward potentially could be and how good he could be in fantasy. But a few things that I would just had right off the bat, different arm angles. That's really big. I love the fact that he can switch up his arm angles. He's almost perfect mechanics. That's the second one. I'm surprised I didn't have that a little lower. Maybe I didn't put that closer to something else. But I mean, that's like something so big about quarterbacks is like, you can't have people coming into the league that are they're going to learn their footwork. I mean, if they haven't learned their footwork at this point, they're not going to. There's a good chance they're not going to. So the fact that he is just chef's kiss, it is just perfect. I mean, you can't ask for better mechanics than that. So that's a big thing. You always want that out of your quarterbacks. Like I said earlier, electric. I probably should have started with that one. I kind of did, but he's just a highlight reel. It's so much fun just to watch his tape. I mean, he was the perfect person to dive into combine stuff this year and watching tape, because I'm like, it just gave me that fuel to just keep watching other people, just because I'm like, man, this is what it's all about, finding people like this. And another thing, a 0-star prospect coming out of high school. I mean, talk about a Cinderella story. If he goes 101, going in, 0-star prospect, goes to Incarnate Ward, transfers to Washington State, then goes back one more year at Miami. I mean, last year, probably at Washington State, you're looking at mid, like, I don't know, like 3rd round to 5th round prospects, probably like somewhere around like Spencer Rattler area. Spencer Rattler went in the 5th, but he was kind of like viewed as like the QB, whatever, last year, the mid-range QB to look after. He probably would have been in that range coming out of Washington State. So it's a great thing that he went out to Miami one more year. He was a Heisman finalist behind Dylan Gabriel. So it's only a quarterback that finished higher than him. No medical injury history. That was like awesome. Like, you talk about people like, I'm trying to think, last year, like Michael Penix, DeBonix. Yeah. So
Michael
people
Penix
like
was hurt all the time.
Yeah, Michael Penix was hurt all the time. So people like that, like when they come in with no injury history, it's like, that's awesome. That's a great thing. My biggest thing that I loved, two biggest things I wanted to finish with that were awesome. His insane pocket presence. I mean, like the way that he, like, you can like visualize blitzes, and they talk about like having eyes in the back of your head and just having a feel, kind of like knowing when there's pressure and when there's not. You could see it, like you could feel it. Like he's not like the best. I'll get into that one with the bad, but even when like you can like see like he's feeling out the pocket and he takes it, like he's not gonna like burn you with his speed, but like he's gonna extend the play and he's not gonna like kill you with like a 50-yard gain, but he'll pick up at 10 yards, he'll and then he'll get beat and then get caught. But still, like he's got that awesome pocket presence and then he's comfortable while trailing. That's like the big thing that is awesome about Cam Ward. It's like he'll come into a game and like he's down and you'd think that some quarterbacks like they can like feel the pressure and just get in over their head. It doesn't seem like he ever really kind of has that moment. Like he's comfortable. And when you're going to a bad team that's drafting 101, 102, whatever, that's what you need in a guy. So I am a lot bigger on Cam Ward than I am on other players. He could be a dud, but out of these prospects, I think that this is the guy that I would be willing to bet on. I mean, compared to Shedeur, I think that there's just a few things that he just like, I would prefer him over Shedeur. I know you guys talked about it a lot in the Shedeur episode, the way that he holds the ball. And like he's great, like he's good he's not like the greatest with mobility, but he's got awareness and he knows how to make the right play and extend plays, and his accuracy is good. And so like Shedeur is more accurate, but I think that Cam Ward is just the better talent right now. So that's where I'm at. What are your thoughts?
I like that Cam Ward he's pretty accurate, like, down the field. He makes some errant throws because he doesn't set his feet sometimes. But all running quarterbacks, all mobile quarterbacks have that issue sometimes because they're on the run. They're mobile. They're moving around all the time. They're, like Dan Marino was Fred Astaire in the pocket. He probably had like 16 total yards rushing his entire NFL career for 16 yards. But he only got sacked like 8 times in one season. I think 11 times in a different season. The guy never took a sack, but he had constant pressure all the time. He just knew where to be. Cam Ward he could see downfield. He could watch the play develop downfield while still evading the pocket, makes things happen, rolls out. I like that. My favorite thing with him is that he throws them little like the second and third, and like the fourth or fifth read after the play's already broken up.
Yeah,
he throws those small little like the screen pass, kind of like dump offs. A lot of like mobile quarterbacks just can't perfect that for some reason. I'm not sure why, but I like that he's pretty good at those. That's impressive for a mobile quarterback to be able, it's one thing to hit a guy who comes back on a comeback route while you're running 15 yards downfield and right on a button and right on the sideline so we can get out of bounds to stop the clock or extend a play or get a 4th down or a 3rd down, something like that. Another thing is just when it's 1st down and they call the pass play and the whole thing broke down and you're able to like see the 4th or 5th option down the field and make that like those little pretty passes, the little ones that are so hard that nobody can really, it's always underthrown at somebody's knees or over somebody's head that gets intercepted. I like that he throws them pretty accurate. And that's going to extend a lot of drives for for him and his team in the future, as it did in Miami.
Yeah, he just makes awesome NFL reads. Like he's not looking at it like he's not like eyeing down his main option the whole time. Like he's seeing how the field's like working, and that's big. I mean, what was the other thing I'm trying to think of when you were talking? Oh, oh man, I'm spacing already. Here we go. It's like once we start going, it's so hard to keep on.
That's all right. I like the fact that he moves around.
I remember.
I like the fact that he moves around and doesn't take direct hits, so he's not going to get hurt because of the fact that he doesn't get hurt. He doesn't get hit directly on. He's not standing in the pocket and get blindsided from the front. I mean, yeah, he's got lost a lot of fumbles. Well, that's because of watching downfield or seeing things. But we'll talk about that later. But at the same time, he's mobile. He moves. He doesn't take direct hits, so that's going to extend his lifetime a little bit.
Yeah, I remember what I was going to say. It's like you're talking about how he has a few bad passes throughout a game. Like it's honestly like very limited. Like he's having more good passes than he is having like bad passes. You don't want to like really incorporate the bad passes. Like you want him to be perfect, but he's got like 2 or 3 bad passes, and then like there's like 3, or 4 that are just like, okay. I wouldn't say like if you wanted a quarterback to be 101. Let's say like I'm in the end zone and I'm holding up a bottle of like a can, like I'm holding open a can like this. All right. If I say I want you to knock this can out of my hands and you throw it perfectly and it doesn't even scrape my palm, that's an A. All right. If you can knock that can out. Now, if you hit me and I drop it, that's a B. You still got the job done, but you didn't do that. That's kind of what it is. It's like he'll hit the target, but like, is it perfect? Is it like right where you need it? Like, maybe you could be picky and say like, oh well, like with the NFL and how much greater the NFL is, like that little bit is just the difference between an interception and completion. It's like, yeah, but we're guys on the internet. We're not going to be picky about that. We're going to talk about ball. We're going to talk about the potential that he has, and these NFL coaches can clean that up. I mean, that's an amazing potential. The fact that he's hitting the bodies like that's just picky at a certain point. Is he going to clean it up? Could he become elite in that aspect? Yeah, but that's just to say that he's not at least a B in that category would be asinine because he's
he's got a lot of good talent on the team too. So it's pretty easy if you watch the L22 of Cam Ward, I watched every play Cam Ward played, and to see him like find guys like Elijah Arroyo like wide open on a broken like pop a quick pop pass across the middle that goes for a 50-yard touchdown. Like, it's like, man, that play was designed obviously in a short, just it was a trick play, not a trick play, but anyway, it was a breakdown on the defense, and he read that, found it, and threw an accurate pass right there to a guy that was wide open in the middle of the field. Some people would overthrow that or underthrow it or too much pressure. He doesn't seem to have that like nervousness that our quarterbacks have. He just lets it go, like he's cool. He plays cool, I guess I'll put it that way.
Yeah. So let's get into some bads.
Let's get into
some critical stuff. Things that
let's spill the tea.
Yeah, just a little bit. Like nothing crazy. Like because like I said, I'm here to build him up. I'm not here to tear him down. This is a Cam Ward show, baby. All right, we're gonna build him up. So let's look at some things that could be improved. First one. He's got good arm.
Let me ask the question first so everybody knows where we're at here, okay? So right now, we just talked about all the good, the bad, and the good on paper, the good on film, the good analytics, test scores, all that kind of stuff, what we like about him. Now we're going to talk about the bad. The bad on paper, the bad on film, the all-22s, the regular game film you watched, the Saturday afternoon watching them play, all the analytics, test scores, which we don't have all that information yet. We don't have draft capital. We don't have a lot of that stuff. But we do know so far. Tell me all the bad that you've seen about Cam Ward so far. Not necessarily the bad, but anything that's like not good, like I'm not saying we're not going like right to the man. This guy sucks, blah, blah. He can improve on this or do things like that. So go ahead. The floor is yours.
I don't think you'll ever hear me say that, but here are some things that could be better. He's got good arm talent, but it's not like elite. Like when I think of elite arm talent, I think of like, honestly, if for reference, you look at Michael Penix last year. I mean, he could just drop a 50-yard dime like on the dot, just so that's elite. That's an A right there. I don't think he's there. Like he's like there's sometimes like with a deep pass that you can like just see a little hesitation. Like, do I do it? Do I? I don't know. So I think that there's some work that could be done there. Yeah, like I said earlier, he's got good accuracy, but it's not like 101 level. Like he's not hitting you like right in the hands. He's hitting you more like right in the body. Although he's electric, he does play hero ball too much, which was a downfall of CJ Stroud this season. So it's kind of like you can't rely everything on yourself. Like it's a pro and it's a con. Like, like Josh Allen with the interceptions. Like you're going to play hero ball, you're going to throw a lot of interceptions. Like you kind of take what you get. You can't criticize someone for what makes them great, but at the same time, you could also ask them to be a little better at it. So like, yeah, he commands being like the hero of the offense because he's just that good. And like, he just makes insane explosive plays, but like, you can't depend on that too much. You got to still be a cohesive unit, and make things simple, don't leave things on the field. So that was the last thing. Sometimes he makes simple mistakes with decision making, whether that's downfield or at the line of scrimmage. So simple things. I mean, like that's just critical. That's just being picky at a certain point. Like simple mistakes. Like maybe he could have made the different read that would have extended it. Maybe he doesn't make that. Just a few cleaner uppers. No changes between a blitz and a 3-man rush. I actually heard that from someone. I don't want to take all the credit. I've been doing lots of research and I wanted to see what everyone else had. And that's a big thing that I don't think that I've actually like put too much thought into myself. So when they said, I'm like,
say that again, please.
No changes between a blitz and a 3-man rush. So like when he's So when he knows that the pocket's breaking, like, or what kind of blitz is coming, whether that's a blitz, like where you like everyone's coming, or it's a 3-man rush and you like have some pressure, you don't really see much change in his mannerisms. Like sometimes like you kind of want that from your quarterback. Like you kind of want like if you know that you don't have everyone on you, give it some time. Like let the play out, like use your legs, extend it a little bit longer. Like there's not much change between like his mannerisms between a blitz and a 3-man. So I liked that when I heard that. I'm like, I'm gonna start not reciting that, but adding that to my thought process because people should think about that. I think it's a really smart idea.
I think that's hilarious that people like think that they could actually throw a football in the college, like a Division I college level or in the NFL. Because if you're the guy who's playing quarterback, and it's like say it's like 3rd and 3 or 3rd and 4, and the defense really can't go in like a dime of the defense, like we'll talk about that in a minute. But when there's 7 guys on the line, you're not sure who the 4 defensive linemen are, who the linebackers are, who are dropping back, and you're not sure where that blitz is coming from, or who's doing what, who's switching, who's got anything going on the defensive line, where the blitz is coming from, what kind of rotation they're going to have. And you have like a half second to figure that kind of stuff out because there's 7 guys within 3 yards of you. You have to make an instant decision when those guys fall back in the coverage or in man coverage in it. And then when you talk about like dime coverage, where you got 3 guys, you have a nose tackle, 2 defensive ends, and everybody else is playing, like it's a 3rd and long kind of situation like that. Nobody's blitzing. That's fine. But as you saw in the Super Bowl, you don't need to blitz people to put pressure on a quarterback. Just because they only had 3 guys in the line of scrimmage doesn't mean you're not going to get any pressure. Doesn't mean that they're not going to be a safety blitz coming out from a dying defense or something like that, or any kind of like a cornerback blitz from the ops from the blind side, or your nose tackle's that good that he just smoked your center on a swim move. Like you never know where this stuff's coming from. And Cam Ward kind of like adjusted to that. The problem was he would fumble a lot when that happened because he didn't hold the ball like where it's supposed to be. He would kind of like let the ball sit around and even when he's running, so like moving, the ball was like at his hips and he got knocked away. And I was like, man, you gotta hold the ball a little bit better. Now, nobody is going to say like, wow, this guy threw 39 touchdowns and only 7 interceptions and had almost a 70% completion rate with 4,300 yards. I mean, that's awesome. That's pretty damn good quarterback play in college. I mean, that's. Is there things that you can prove on? Absolutely. We're here to talk about the kind of the negative stuff. And you had brought some good accuracy, but not 101 accuracy level kind of thing. Yeah, that's okay. You don't have to be 101. You don't have to be Tom Brady accurate to be good in the NFL. You don't have, sometimes like I talk about it all the time. Quarterbacks have deficiencies. Some quarterbacks just play YOLO ball and throw the ball up and let the receivers make things happen. Then you got guys like Trevor Lawrence who try to wait until guys are open and like be Superman, like kind of like let them make them look good because you waited for them to get open kind of thing. Like that's one of his big deficiencies. I think Cam Ward trusts his players enough, or he had enough of a talented group of players that he didn't have to like struggle too well to find guys that were open either. So I'll give him that much. But it was nice to watch him play football. To transfer to Miami and just walk in and have a season like that with a talented team is what you want to see from quarterbacks. This 0-star recruit coming out of college, coming out of high school to turn in, like you said, to turn into this, man. You got to be excited if you're a Cam Ward fan. If you're Cam Ward right now, you're living on a dream. And then you hear this stuff about like, oh, he walked out the field, halfway through the game, in the Pop-Tarts Bowl, his leadership abilities are lacking, or get out of here. This guy knows he's going to the pros. He doesn't have to do anything else. It's the Pop-Tarts Bowl. It wasn't a national championship game. It wasn't that kind of stuff. It was a Pop-Tarts Bowl. If you think that these guys are going to risk their career to make sure that their team wins in the Pop-Tarts Bowl, when it's most of the rest of these players' last time ever being on a football field, then you have to have your head examined, because that's not guys who are the team, the players, the college, the entire university knows that, hey, we want to see this guy shine in the NFL. We don't want to see him on 4th down in the 4th quarter of a game. It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, get hurt and ruin his NFL career because he was playing in the Pop-Tarts Bowl in the 4th quarter. So it's so stupid. I hear that kind of stuff and it makes me it makes me sick to my stomach, but
something people don't realize is like once you go to the NFL, like that's something that people always remember you by. Like, right. Or the better that prospect becomes in the NFL, the more like prestige it brings to that college. Like I think
Right.
of as a Badgers fan, like man, like JJ Watt brought so much more prestige to the Badgers defense for years, or guys like Jonathan Taylor, like these that when they succeed in the NFL, Russell Wilson, but he was a transfer last year, so we adapt him, but he's not like a full Badger. But guys like that, like when they come from your school and they go on and shine in the NFL, it makes your program so much better.
Right.
So yeah, like they're not gonna like be picky about that. It's unless you're going for a national championship, like you're alluding to, then sure, obviously all bets are off. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not picky about that. He's a dog. What's up, Peter?
Peter Terranova, yo, thanks for tuning in, Peter. Much appreciated. So any intangibles off the field stuff, off the field drama, family ties, has you got any? We talk about players now who have family members who were in the NFL before. We talk about players who, were undervalued, overvalued, the possible like arrests, things like that. What do you got for like any off the field kind of gossip, anything like that? Good, bad, or ugly? Like this, the intangibles about Cam Ward.
I'm not adding any fuel to that fire. Nothing. Nada. I ain't doing any research about that. That's for everyone else. I'm here to talk about talent, what they can do on the field. So what they can do on the field, that's where I'm at. So he's got all potential in the world. Let's see if he can put it together.
There you go. That's all right. A lot of there's some guys who have made the longest part of the show is the intangibles, and then there's some people that like, hey man, this guy's in class. He's the first one in class. He's the last one to leave. He's tutoring kids on the side. He's in the gym. He's studying film. He's the first one in the gym, last one out of the gym. I mean, there's the intangibles, and some of these players are just positive to the utmost degree. Not too many guys that have too many bad intangibles. But some people have this is their third generation, or they got brothers in the NFL, or they got things going on like that.
Yeah,
There's a lot of like
see anything like that.
So yeah, it's there's just things like that we like to bring up sometimes. So no worries.
I didn't see anything like that, but if we're going to talk about one thing, then we could really focus on the whole 0-star prospect. Like if you're talking about character and what someone will do to put in the work, that's how you do it. 0-star to possibly first overall pick. That's all you need. I mean, like there's sometimes like you just know when people got potential, and then like they put in the work, like it just shines. Like when they're just good at something and they want to put in the work to do it, like you could see it in their work. It doesn't have to. They're not sloppy about it. They're not just showing up because they know that they're good. Like you don't go from a 0-star unless you're like first one in, last one out. That's just my thought process on it. Maybe he's very good at making it out to be that way, but he's got my vote. That's all I'll say.
Fantastic. All right. NFL draft range. Where is he going to get drafted at? Where do you think? And because of that draft capital, where do you think he's going to go in like super flex fantasy football drafts?
I will spoil one more thing from my quarterback scramble series, and that is it. And then you guys have to go out and read it yourself because it's great. I promise you'll at least be entertained, whether they all come to fruition or whether none of them come to fruition. I promise you will find some entertainment throughout reading that series at some point. So for me, I have him going 101. And I have a team actually trading up. The people are talking about how are any of these quarterbacks really worth trading up? Like I said earlier in the show, I think that they are. I think that once you think about the potential of these teams not waiting, like how the Giants did last year, they didn't get a quarterback. They didn't get JJ McCarthy. Now they're obviously like in a predicament where they need to draft a Shedeur Sanders. I don't think people are going to want to put themselves in that boat next year. So I think that there's going to be some teams that are more urgent to move up. The team that I had in my quarterback scramble series is the Saints. I think that the Saints are going to move up from 9. I have a trade package of 9, the 2026 first, Derek Carr, and offensive tackle Trevor Penning, who they drafted in the first round, I believe, a few years ago. He hasn't really been panning out, but the Titans need some offensive tackle help. And Derek Carr worked with Brian Callahan, who was his quarterback coach with the Raiders. And you look at even some of the GMs, there's a former GM for the Raiders. Forget which one. There's a few of them actually that are kind of in building. So it's hard to really pinpoint which one I'm trying to think of right now off the bat. But former Chiefs GM, Mike Bergonzi, first thing that he did as assistant GM in the Chiefs was the draft that they ended up getting Alex Smith instead of drafting a quarterback first overall. So that's kind of where my head's at, is maybe he wants to rebuild the Titans by getting a veteran quarterback in and trading down, getting some picks, maybe finding a quarterback later in the draft, or maybe seeing what they can pull out of Will Levis one more year and try to go for, maybe they are the team that's hopeful that Arch Manning comes out in 2026 and they have a quarterback competition between Derek Carr and Will Levis. Regardless, I think Cam Ward's going to the Saints 101, because why else would Kellen Moore be wasting his time during the biggest week of his career taking time with the Saints, who are, I'm not going to like disrespect Derek Carr. I think he's talented, but I think that he's past this point where he's bringing in young offensive coordinators to be his head coach. Like, I don't think he has that draw in this point in his career anymore. So I feel like the only way that they were going to bring Kellen Moore in and get him to commit was by saying, hey, we'll promise you a young quarterback in this draft. And I think that could be Cam Ward.
That's awesome, because you ever talk about a team that needs to shed a lot of salary cap. The Saints could get rid of like half their players and be like, yes, you could take all of my underproductive or young players that aren't, that are about to get contracts that signed, or guys we just signed who aren't panning out. You take all of this stuff, and we'll start with a small salary rookie right from the get-go that we got 5 years on to control 100%. Like, so that makes a lot of sense, Hugh. I'm glad you thought of all that 5 degrees of Kevin Bacon kind of situation there. But I kind of want Tennessee to go with Will Levis one more. I think Will Levis is one of those players. I know JT, my co-host with the Mo-host, hates Will Levis, but I feel like Will Levis really never got a fair shot in Tennessee. So, yes. But
he could be the starter. He could beat out Derek Carr, potentially.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm. Maybe.
On a good day.
On a good day. Yes, sir.
So.
All right. Well, thanks for being on the show today, Mr. Hoove. We just talked about possibly having some transportation coordination to the combine, and hopefully that'll happen. We'll see what the story is, but tell everybody where they can find you at, all the stuff going on in the life of Hoove Tube and all that stuff.
All right. Well, you guys can go ahead and find me at Club Fantasy FFL. You can find me Tuesdays going forward. I'm guessing some point after the combine, we'll get season 2 started of Trade Block. But Trade Block is a show that we do every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Central. And we break down a dynasty value, a dynasty asset. We'll pick one per week, and we'll talk about where they're being ranked amongst other players, and we'll kind of talk about a few trades that you could have, maybe even buying this player or selling this player. And we just kind of like to talk about different types of trades, and what we can get out of them. So that's always fun. And then also you can check me out, my quarterback scramble series over at Club Fantasy, talking about all the quarterbacks, even Cam Ward, like we talked about tonight, where he could go. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled. We got a lot of combine after the combine. Got a lot of draft content coming out, a lot of free agency content and trade content coming out. So a lot of content coming from your boy Hoove. So keep your eyes
pouring out from your boy Hoove. Here we go. Vince Mapstone says, "Hi, Hoove."
That's my boy.
So John McGlynn 75 on the X. You can find me. Dynasty Evaluation Show is what I do. I'm here on Fantasy and Frames. Fantasy and Frames has everything across the board. They've got IDP. They got C2C, a little bit of stuff going on there. They got hockey. They got gambling. They got, all kind of stuff churning out here on Fantasy and Frames. So like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff, man. And subscribe to the YouTube channel, all their fantasyandframes.com. Get on there, do it. And thanks for watching the Dynasty Evaluation Show this week. Have a good one, everyone. That was the Cam Ward episode with Who.